Negative reviews are every Amazon seller's worst nightmare, but with the right approach, you can stop them from sabotaging your sales. In this video, we will show you exactly how you can handle negative reviews and the steps you can take to protect yourself from losing sales. There is a service by TraceFuse which can help you to do that. And if you are interested in them, check out the link in the video description below.
Hello, Shane. Happy to have you on Orange Klik YouTube channel today to share some insights how sellers could stop having negative reviews coming in, and of course, with the goal of not having those affecting the sales. Before we go into the discussion and the content you prepared to share with us today, could you first introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your background, and also how TraceFuse is helping Amazon sellers with reviews?
Absolutely. Yeah. So my name is Shane Barker. I've started in the digital space and I've been doing in the digital space for, I don't want to lie to you guys, 25 years. You can see the gray in the beard. So I've been around for a little while, started doing SEO websites, content marketing. I jumped into e-commerce, used to teach at UCLA. So I taught, did the influencer marketing program over there with a friend of mine, Amanda. So I've been doing it for a long time, always been online based, used to own a bar in Chico, California. I have a long history of entrepreneurship, mainly online. And then TraceFuse came about 5 years ago. So we did about 2 years of R&D, a little testing. In the last 3 years, and we've been absolutely crushing it. So what we're doing now is TraceFuse, really the premise of it is just helping Amazon sellers remove negative reviews that are non-compliant or that maybe are fraudulent on the platform. So that's going to be our main focus. We don't do anything else. TraceFuse only does that. We don't do optimization of listings. We don't do SEO. We only focus on reviews on Amazon. So we don't do Google or anything like that. We are hyper-focused because when we started the business, we didn't realize, well, we did kind of realize that there was a big need for it. Now we have, 500 clients, removed over 13,000 reviews. So, obviously the proof's in the pudding. Now here we are and making big waves. And look at this, we made it to you guys' YouTube channel. So I guess good things are happening.
Nice. Well, we're very excited to have you and good to hear about your feedback. And maybe before we dive into the content itself, I wanted to ask, so you said you have been kind of focusing on the reviews for quite a while already. So can you tell us, has anything like changed in the past like 2 to 5 years in the landscape of feedback and reviews, especially when we talk about Amazon Marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's funny. Each marketplace has its own, nuances and what people do and things that happen there. But I think if we're focusing on the US platform where there's, 1.9 million active sellers, we also take care of the UK and Canada. I think the thing that we've seen changes is just a lot of the policies with Amazon, right? And where you file cases and how you file cases. Those things are constantly changing because Amazon changes departments and, has turnover, other people they've hired or promoted and stuff like that. So the process has never been very streamlined. And I do think Amazon's doing everything they can to remove those reviews as best as possible. But really, at the end of the day, we're kind of the backup to Amazon. If the reviews actually make it to the platform, and the AI or the machine learning doesn't actually go and flag it and remove it, then we are that company that would come in. We grab those reviews, and obviously we'll do some kind of filing with Amazon or some kind of case filings. But the big thing is just the evolving space, right? I mean, and then people are. I grew up in the SEO, so it's like, seeing people trying to game the system, and we see that in any platform. Anytime there's money involved, there's somebody selling a course or doing something on Amazon, you're selling a product. Everybody, what people used to do to game the system 3 years ago is very different what they do now. Back in the day, it was very like, get a VA, you get into a fake buyer's account, they go and copy and paste reviews and put them up there. Obviously, our system now flags that if you have, 5 people in 5 different areas that wrote the same 5 reviews, exactly the same 5 reviews. This is the worst product in the world with 7 exclamation marks. That obviously doesn't make sense. I'm not saying we don't see that now, but now what we're seeing is a lot of people maybe mentioning competitors where it could be a 5-star review where they're coming in and going, oh, I really like these Adidas shoes, but my Nikes were so much more comfortable when I was running. The new Adidas, I really like the colors, but I really love my Nikes that were more fluorescent, whatever that is. Now what you look at that and you're like, oh, so they like the Adidas, but they really like the Nikes better, right? And by the way, neither one of those are my clients, so I can say that. But so that's what we look at is those types of things where, it's like you feel like it's a good review, and then all of a sudden your number one review really is pushing everybody to your customer, to your competitors. So those are the types of things that we look at. That whole process has been happening for a while, but this first time in our history, in TraceFuse's history, this was about a few months ago that I had somebody for the first time say, hey, can you remove a 5-star review? And I'm like, why would I remove a 5-star review? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So I looked at it and I was like, okay. I see why that is. So once again, we're constantly, because of the data that we collect, because what we're able to see on Amazon, we're able to see when changes start to happen and people are doing new, let's say con artist thing or, scammer things or whatever that is to try to game the system. So because of the amount of data, before we would just kind of look at stuff and we can make assessments. Now we have AI and we have, a great team that goes and takes a look at trends that's happening in regards to, attacking sellers and stuff like that. So we like to kind of stay up on that to be able to, add new features to the software to be able to address those types of things so it doesn't happen to sellers anymore.
All right, Shane. So, based on your experience, based on the data, tell us how we can stop negative reviews coming in. I know you have a slide deck prepared as well, so now it's the point where you can share a screen, and I think we're all having eyes on you, and our ears are also listening.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, yeah, we'll jump right in. So, yeah, so today what we're going to talk about is not letting negative reviews kill your sales, right? And how do we stop them? So, negative reviews are going to come in. So, I think that's what's important is that if you're a new seller, um, negative reviews are going to happen. If you're selling any kind of volume at all, they're going to come in. No matter if you have the best product in the world, your mom loves your product, your aunt loves your product, everybody in your family loves your product. That's great. There's going to be somebody out there that doesn't like it. So that's what you got to understand is like, hey, it's going to be constructive criticism. You got to take that. And once again, you can use that constructive criticism to build a better product. But what we're really looking at is anything that violates Amazon's guidelines, right? Or anything that's that's fraudulent. So let's talk about what we can do to make sure you can mitigate those negative reviews. So that once again, so you don't get attacked and lose all kinds of sales. So what are we going to cover today? So we're going to talk about the effects of negative reviews. We're going to talk about the TOS and community guideline violations, right? So those are Amazon's TOS and community guidelines. And then how it works, right? The TraceFuse methodology and why we've had so much success. Like I said, over 13,000 reviews in the last 3 years. So what do reviews affect, right? Let's talk about this a little bit. So obviously it affects your star rating. I think hopefully everybody knows, but if not, I'll go ahead and give you guys a little bit of education here. Actually, if you look at your reviews and you're at a 4.3 and you drop down to a 4.2, it loses that half a star. And we've had clients that have lost up to 50% of their sales because of that drop. That half a star, that 4.5 to a 4, is just from a psychological perspective is really something that affects sales. It also affects your brand image and reputation. Obviously, if you have very bad reviews, people assume it's a bad product. It also affects your BSR, right, which is going to be your product ranking. Obviously, the more bad reviews that you guys get, then the higher you're going to go up in the BSR. And your BSR, you want to be as close as 1. Conversion rates, Amazon's going to look at it and say, hey, we're not going to put you on that first page. We're not going to promote you because guess what? Even your PPC costs, as we'll talk about next, also can go up tremendously because once again, they're saying, well, it's going to take a lot more for people to convert because you don't have a great product. So they charge you more for that. All of these things are directly affected because of the review system, what's been built on Amazon. So the devastating effects of negative reviews. So let's talk about that. So first of all, let's define what is a critical review. A critical review is going to be a 1, 2, or 3 stars. So that's what Amazon defines as a critical review. Obviously, positive reviews are going to be 4s and 5s. I've heard this has been debated, but I don't think one thing we can't. That's not debatable is how powerful a 1-star is, right? So we talk about the weighted average of a 1-star. I've had people tell me that a 1-star, when we remove it, it equals 5 stars. I've heard 25 stars. I've heard all kinds of numbers, but I can tell you that a 1-star and a 5-star are not equal. I can promise you that. They're definitely, if you we remove a 1-star, that could be the same as getting 10 5-stars, right? So something to kind of think about, always get more 4s and 5 stars, obviously. What I talk about, usually the analogy I use is like a diet. So if you go and you want to lose weight, if you eat right, and you work out, you're going to lose weight faster, right? If you just work out and don't eat right, or if you just eat right and don't work out, what we're looking at here, the analogy I'm using here is that, hey, you get more positive reviews. We're taking care of your negative reviews. Guess what? Your BSR is going to go a lot lower. You're also going to see your star rating happen, head back up to that 4.3 is really where you want to be. Hopefully a 4.7 if you can get there. So as I talked about dropping from a 4.3 to a 4.2, we've had some of our clients that lose up to 50% of their sales because of that. So you definitely don't want to drop down to that. Part of our service that's evolved over the years So we also offer monitoring, right? So when somebody comes and signs up with us, we're a performance-based company, which means you only pay when reviews get removed. But the real value in it is we monitor that ASIN. So you're at a 4.3, you don't want to drop down to a 4.2. So we monitor those. When those reviews come in, we'll be filing on those and taking care of those, with the goal being is that we don't want you to drop down to that 4.2. We want to consistently keep those sales. If you drop down to 4.2, then it's an oh crap moment, right? So then we want to try to file those cases. And once again, I try to encourage sellers to be more reactive, or proactive, excuse me, instead of reactive in regards to what's happening there. And then obviously every review has a compounding effect on your conversion rate, right? So that's why a lot of the times if people will attack you, they'll give you multiple ones over and over in a row, because Amazon goes, oh, it looks like we have a decline in quality or something. And then guess what? Amazon will knock you down in the BSR because you're getting all kinds of negative reviews. So we take a look at that too, anything that might be fraudulent. So I want to ask you guys this. This is going to be, hopefully this doesn't offend anybody, but I saw this review. This is literally a review that I saw. It's actually one of our clients' reviews, that I took this screenshot. I'm telling you, this is not something I found online. Do you think this review affected sales? So let me go ahead and read this to you guys. This is from Jules. This is the baby I had after using the morning after pill. So if you don't know what that is, Google it. And if this offends you, I apologize. I'm a little bit of a funny guy sometimes, but I took this roughly 8 hours after doing the deed. I don't think I need to explain what the deed is, so you can Google it, look it up. And even took another one the next day to be safe. So the morning after pill is to make it so you don't have a baby, right? Once again, we can agree or not agree with the process. It's okay though, because I love being a mama and everything worked out okay, but I was pissed, that's capital pissed, when that pregnancy test came back positive and she has a picture of her baby. So when you do the deed, which once again, I'm not going to go into heavy detail what that means, and all of a sudden you get pregnant, this pill is to make it so you don't get pregnant. Once again, we can debate on whether that's right or wrong. Then she shows a picture of her baby. So do you think this affected sales? If you're worried about getting pregnant and you want to take a pill, and then you see a baby, you go, oh, that's what I'm trying not to do today, right? So anyways, I just wanted to share this with you. This is a legit review. This is literally a review for one of our clients. If my client is seeing this, I apologize that I showed this, but I just could not share this. I thought it was pretty crazy. So anyways, just know if you get a bad review, at least somebody's not showing a picture of a baby in your morning after pill. So you're welcome for that. All right. So what's not allowed in reviews, right? So we can't seller order or shipping feedback, right? So that's going to be, talk about anything that's FBA related. We actually file on that if a product was late, if it was damaged, if it was a used product. Those are all things, those are FBA related issues. Comments about pricing or availability. So we're not talking about pricing as in somebody saying, oh, this is expensive. We're talking about somebody saying, hey, this is $45. I paid $45 for it and it's a ripoff. Or I paid $45 for it a year ago and now it's $58. Like, what the heck? Those are the types of things that we're looking at. Content written in unsupported languages. So on certain platforms, there's some supported languages. So if you use a different language, like on the US platform, those are things that we can potentially get removed. Repetitive, like spam pictures created with symbols, private information. This is where the owner lives. This is their warehouse. Profanity, harassment, obviously, hate speech, sexual content, external links, obviously affiliate links or anything like that. Ads, conflicts of interest, promotional content, compensated reviews. Hey, I got a $20 gift card for writing this review. Plagiarism, infringement, impersonation, and then illegal activities. So what we do is when we run that through our AI software, these are some of the things that it looks for, right? So we have keywords, and once again, our machine learning that we've built, our AI has about 5 years of data in it. So we've really, really tightened that up. This is not just a chat GPT thing. This is something that we've actually, it's going to keep feeding the machine and having better and better information come out of that. So the 3 pillars for our success, right? So why have we had so much success? Why have we been able to move 13,000 reviews? And why do we have 500 clients? Well, it really comes down to the data, right? So the data is going to be the information that we collect off Amazon. Those are going to be the reviews. And what we do is we run those, as I said, through the AI software. The AI just tells us whether it's compliant with Amazon's guidelines or not. We obviously do not take the, whatever, if it's not compliant, we actually have these things called humans. If my filers are watching this, I I love you guys and you guys are humans. It's not AI. So what I'm alluding to is that we don't use AI. We don't just automatically file with Amazon. Our filers have been trained up so they know what to look for, what are the violations, and also what is the best departments to file those cases. And then it starts in the back end of our software that obviously the people, our customers don't see it. All they see is when the reviews get removed and obviously which ones are in progress. But behind the scenes, that starts a timeline for us on when we're going to file cases, how we're going to file cases, the terminology we're going to use. There's a lot of information there. We have a long history of knowing what works and what doesn't work with certain departments and things you can say. Next is going to be our methodology. So as we talked about, that's where we file with Amazon, how we file with Amazon. We do, vendor central, seller central, brand registry, escalation emails. We do direct emails to Amazon, a lot of different things that we do there. Because we know once we look at a review and know where to file and what's also the cadence on the back end. So if I do brand registry as an example, we know that, you're supposed to wait at least 5 to 7 days to look for a response. So that's very, very important. If you file something with Amazon and you reach out to them every hour for an update, you could get blacklisted. So you want to be very, very careful of aggravating Amazon. They have internal processes and on timelines on how quickly they need to respond to stuff. And we know those timelines, obviously, because we filed so many cases, we understand that process. Also, perseverance, right? So that's just going to be if Amazon closes your case and doesn't do anything and doesn't respond, it's very, very common that happens. We're going to file another case with Amazon. Not every day, not every hour, we're going to make sure we have the proper timeline. We're going to reach out. If they said, hey, we closed the case, they haven't removed the review, and the review is blatantly against Amazon's guidelines. Somebody said this is an effing terrible product with effing being a cuss word. We're all in agreement that should not be on the platform, which is there's no debate. It's not one person's going to go, well, it's just the F word, right? We want to get that removed. And Amazon wants to get it removed too. So what we're going to have to do is if that case gets closed, we're going to be filing another case once again until Amazon either removes the review or once again, we can file with other departments as well. So here goes our methodology. So this is kind of our process and how we do things. So what we do is you can go to the website in the top right-hand corner says Get Started. What will happen is you're going to go and fill out some information. You're going to put in your merchant token. What will happen is when you put in your merchant token, you're going to have a dashboard. Great. So then what will happen? You get access to your dashboard and you'll see all of your ASINs being pulled in there and it'll have all your review data. So this will be in the back end of the platform of the software and you'll be able to see how many reviews you have, critical reviews and positive reviews. And it's very, very easy. All you do is you just click activate. When you click activate, what we're going to do is we're actually going to grab those reviews. We run those. You're going to activate whatever ASIN you want. So you don't have to activate all of them or you can activate your whole store. Depends on what you want. Let's say you have one particular ASIN, your hero ASIN you want to activate. You click activate. We grab those reviews. So let's say there's 100 critical reviews. We run those through our AI software, and the AI software just tells us whether it's compliant with Amazon or not. And then, like I said, we have people, filers that we've trained to be able to look at the reviews and assess what is the best department to file with. And then we obviously take a look at those non-compliant reviews. Anything that is compliant with Amazon, we're not touching. So we're not going to be filing cases on anything that's compliant because why? That would be wasting Amazon's time. It's wasting our time. We only get paid when reviews get removed. So guess what? Why waste Amazon's time? Why waste our time? We're going to be going after the very, the most egregious reviews, the reviews that have the S word, the F word, the S word, all these other things, right? Or people that clearly mention pricing, right? Like that's a no-brainer. Nobody's going to debate whether a price was mentioned or a price wasn't mentioned. And then obviously moving forward, we have our monitoring system. So when you activate that ASIN is active with us, we go back and clean up all the reviews. We can go back to when the ASIN was created. And then from moving forward, guess what? If you guys get reviews that come in right before Christmas or Prime Day or anything like that, those reviews will come in, our system will detect them. And then guess what? If there's something either against Amazon's guidelines or fraudulent, we'll be filing cases on it. So there we go. You guys will be protected moving forward, which is awesome. And as we talked about earlier, if you do a launch, great, guess what? And that launch comes in, it's going to pull in your dashboard. Make sure you go and you activate that ASIN so that we're protecting that. That gives you one layer of protection if somebody comes in and writes something crazy or does something crazy. Once again, we'll be filing those cases to make sure. So let's talk about some of our case studies. So if you go to the website, sheenparker.com. Yeah, you can go to my own website, which has nothing to do with what I'm talking about here. That's one website. But the real website we're talking about today is TraceFuse.ai. This is what happens when you have multiple businesses, folks. You get confused about, especially when you get older, it happens sometimes. But yeah, so if you go over to TraceFuse.ai and you go to the top, there's going to be a button or thing you can pull down, and this will actually our case studies and our clients. And what we've done is we've asked people to do video testimonials on the successes of TraceFuse. We did that because it's very easy to, create a website, grab an AI picture of, Jennifer Smith, put 8-figure seller, and then just have a written testimonial, which I'm in the digital space, so I've always been very suspect to that stuff. So for us, we did, we had our clients do video testimonials, and here goes some of them right now. This is Wagging Taylor. They fell to a 4.2, and then guess what? We got them back up to a 4.3, and I think it was like 8 out of 92 reviews removed in the first 5 weeks, and then once again, they moved back up to the 4.3. My recommendation is be, once again, more proactive than reactive. Nothing against Wagging Taylor. Dave and those guys are awesome people, but we really want to protect that ASIN. That's why we have that monitoring. You're a 4.3. Protect the house. Go and get that monitored. And this is going to be Emily. She's from Organic Care. She was actually one of our first clients. 25 reviews removed. It increased her sales by 15%. And performance obviously moving forward. So it's not only 15% for that month, but it's 15% for the next month. And once again, what you're doing is you're making sure that, because if you lose money today, you're going to lose it next month, the month after that. You're just going to keep going down that road, unless you can go get hundreds of 5-star reviews, which is going to look a little suspect if you're not selling tons of products. So just something to think about. And this is Spiro. Spiro's been with us for a while too. Gout and you. We had over 100 reviews removed, which equaled about a 20% success rate for him. So once again, we've got about 13 video testimonials just to kind of show you guys that, it's one thing to come from me, the owner, to say, hey, we're awesome. Of course, I'm going to say we're awesome. I might be a little biased, right? But really you want to go and take a look at our current clients and show the successes and the things that we've been able to do for them. So here goes some other ones, just different people. So this is Travel Rest. This is Terry. I worked with TraceFuse for a little over 6 months. I've seen a huge improvement in both my star rating and my BSR. I continue to work with them and would highly recommend them. We got James from Organic Muscle. James was getting attacked. He's in the supplement space in the U.S. Marketplace. Actually, I think he's a number, but a number of different marketplaces, but definitely the U.S. Once again, people were attacking him, kind of playing dirty games. He didn't think there was anything that was possible. He reached out to us, very skeptical on whether we could remove reviews. Well, guess what? We removed reviews, and now he gave us a video testimonial. And then David actually sells it's items for, I'm not supposed to say his name because he didn't want me to tell everybody. But anyways, what it is going to be like products for like pasta and stuff like that. They're actually all over. They're Whole Foods. They're a big, big company. But David is one of our guys that started with us about 2 years ago. And they had fraudulent reviews and were getting attacked a lot. And guess what? We were able to take care of that. Now being monitored, they have peace of mind. As I touched on earlier, we have removed over 13,000 reviews. That's 13,000. That is a lot of reviews. And we work with some of the top sellers. When we first started doing this, we were only working with sellers that had over 500 critical reviews. So we were working with some of the big fish. We have since lowered that to really any client that wants to come on with us, because we have the monitoring, obviously the continued success, and obviously peace of mind that brings to the table. And our success rate is going to be right around 5 to 15% on average. Now, obviously that goes higher in certain categories, like we talked about, in either pets or in health or supplements. So those types of things are we have a lot higher success rate. Sometimes we've seen up to a 27% success rate on those categories. So just depends on, once again, your category, the competition, and the amount of reviews that are coming through. Next, we're going to talk about our pricing. So once again, does this make sense from an ROI perspective, right? So we right now we have a promotion that we're doing with Orange Klik. What we're doing is we have a lifetime monitoring fee. So let me explain what that is. When I say lifetime, that means you pay a one-time fee and you get your ASINs, all of your merchant token, anything underneath your merchant token is going to be protected as long as you have them active with us. We usually charge $750 for that. That's a one-time fee. We're actually giving a $500 discount, which is a 66% discount, which means you guys will only have to pay $250. That $250, what that does, that covers your whole merchant token. So whether you have one ASIN or 10,000 ASINs, it also covers any future ASINs you guys add. So if you added an ASIN in the next month, a new product, you can come up there, you can activate it for free. Any of those things that are active will be protecting you around Christmas, Prime Day, anytime when everybody comes wants to do it. You got all your sales that are going up and things are happening. We're going to protect you guys. And then we only charge $250 for every review that we successfully get removed. So what that means is this. We filed 10 cases with Amazon and no reviews get removed. Guess what? Then we're not going to, you don't get charged at $250. But if we get, we we file 10 cases with Amazon and we get one review removed, then guess what? We're going to go ahead and charge you the $250, but that's only on success. So that's not, you don't pay per case because that would be very expensive because we file a lot of cases. And that's the other thing too, is when we're filing cases, we're also very compliant with Amazon, 100% compliant with Amazon. So we don't remove the reviews, Amazon does. The other perks, obviously, and there's no contracts, we don't have any retainers, and there's no monthly fees, right? So we want to make sure our retention rate is very, very high because people see success and they can activate and deactivate the ASINs at will. So we don't, we don't go and do that for you. You can go, you have full control of everything on the back end of the software. And great, this is, if you guys want to claim the $500 savings today, you guys can click this beautiful little QR code, grab your phones and take a picture of it. It'll take you guys over to the landing page and you guys can sign up. And once again, you guys will automatically get the $500 off of that $750. So it's only $250 for lifetime monitoring of your products. So great. Some of the takeaways that I want to make sure that we address here is reviews that seem legit can still often be against Amazon's guidelines. So it could be a long review, it could have all kinds of information, but if they cuss or mention a competitor or mention pricing, plus a number of different things, then we can get that removed. Or if it's a very short review, not a thorough review. TraceFuse is completely white hat. 1,000% white hat. I put my face in the company for a reason. A lot of companies that are in the reputation management space kind of hide behind a cloak and dagger thing. I don't. I am here. I'm doing webinars. I'm talking to people, talking to amazing people like Klik. And guess what? We're making it happen. And I want people to know that we are a legit business. We're 100% compliant with Amazon, and we are compliant with all of Amazon's TOS. And while all our software detects critical reviews, we also have our teams that file all the cases. So once again, that's not done. It's done in a manual process. It's not automated at all. And we don't get paid. And guess what? Unless the review actually gets removed. So I think people really enjoy the success side of things. One other thing I wanted to talk about today is if you want to try it on your own. So let's say, hey, Shane, I don't want the $500 discount. I don't want to pay anything. I just want to, I'm a DIY. I can, look at me. I'm big, I'm strong. I can do this on my own. Awesome. Well, we created a tool so you can do it on your own. So what you can do is you go to tracefuse.ai/Amazon-review-checker. And what will happen is you guys will be able to go in. You're going to be able to put in your ASIN. You got to verify your email address. I got to make sure you're not scamming anybody. We're going to pull that information. Takes about an hour or two, depending on how big the ASIN is and how many reviews you have. And then what's going to happen is on the back side of this, you guys will receive a report, and you can kind of see the report right here. You'll see that what this is going to do, it's going to have a review ID, which means you guys can click on it and see the review. You can have the review title. It actually has the star rating, and then it has the reason for non-compliance. So we actually are going to run it through our own AI. This is not ChatGPT. This is the one that we've trained ourselves with our own prompts and all the fun stuff. And that's continuously getting better and better because we're feeding it more information. What will happen is you'll be able to see exactly what's wrong with those reviews. We're also going to have this dandy little calculator. I'm assuming you guys see it up here in the review calculator, wherever we're at. I'll just somewhere in this area. You guys click on the review calculator, and what that will do, that will tell you exactly how many reviews we need to remove to be able to get you up to the next star rating. So when I say exactly, I mean approximately, right? Because it's not an exact science, because Amazon's obviously weighing things differently when it comes to, the weight of averages of, 1 stars and 2 stars and 5 stars and all that stuff. But I can guarantee that it's going to be very, very close to, what you're going to need to do to be able to get up to that star rating. Once again, totally free, doesn't cost you anything. We're doing this to be able to help sellers out. And once again, thank you guys so much for having me. You've got the tool. You can try it on your own. Hey, Shane, I'm a DIY guy and girl. Great. Awesome. Go do it. If you get the reviews removed, please let us know that the tool's working for you. If you don't, guess what? We happen to do the same thing. We're a little more effective because we've only, filed thousands of cases with Amazon or moved 13,000 reviews. So we have a little bit of a good history there. But if you want to do it yourself, give it a try. If not, we'll always be around to help.
Awesome, Shane. Thank you so, so much for covering everything you just shared with us. It was super interesting to pay attention to what you're saying and kind of learn how to deal with reviews and what you're also doing to help Amazon sellers. I think it's amazing. And coming back to kind of the things you just last said about like how many cases you have filed and how much experience you probably have some knowledge about most common mistakes those DIY Amazon sellers are usually making when they're addressing negative reviews. So maybe you can highlight a few things that sellers usually kind of do incorrectly when they try to manage the negative reviews on their own.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem that we've seen is probably is just them filing the wrong information, right? So that's the reason we created the free tool, is so that people can go through and know exactly why it's in violation, and make sure you're not messing that up, because that's the first step. If you file it and you say, "Hey, I think this is against Amazon's guidelines," well, you need to give a very descriptive reason on why it's against Amazon's guidelines, right? So they're not, Amazon doesn't work for you. And so you're going to file these cases. You want to give as much information as possible, right? So it's like the analogy I always use, it's like going to a police station and saying, "Hey, my car was broken into, go figure it out." Guess what? There's probably bigger things that the police department's working with. Now, if you go in with a file and you say, "Hey, this is the guy who broke into my car. Here goes video footage. I followed him to his house. Here goes his address. Here goes his fingerprints. This is where he works, and this is where his mom works." There we go. That you're gonna have a higher likelihood of someone going, "Oh, it's not a lot of work for me. I can go make that happen." It's the same thing with Amazon. Amazon's not lazy. It's just I mean, think about how many people are filing cases on a daily basis. Probably, I don't know about millions, but potentially millions. So what we look at there is you have to be able to, if you can make it so they can make a better decision and a faster decision, the more information you have there, the better. And I'm not talking about emotional, right? You don't need to come sideways at Amazon and say, "Oh my God, do your job. What the hell are you guys doing on that side?" That's going to get you nowhere in anything you do in life, right? Talking to your wife, your husband that way, that's, we got to think about, how do we want to treat people? So you're going to file a case with Amazon, make sure you have a lot of information in there. A great starting point, obviously, is that review checker, because then they can go and grab that, and then they could be able to file that with Amazon. But just try to take the emotion out of it, but put as much data and statistics and information, seeing why this is in violation, and then once again, why you're filing this. And then you're probably going to have to file multiple times. It's probably not going to happen on the first time. So if you're, wanted to be a one and done, then you probably just want to hire us. I mean, because it's the process is, there's a lot of back and forth that's going to happen there. And so it's important, but hopefully people will be able to get their own reviews removed. That would be awesome.
Awesome. And also, of course, thank you so much for providing that free review checker. I think it's also super cool to play around, and we're going to definitely link it to the video description below as well. So one more question about, let's say, negative reviews. So, of course, sometimes it can be like really a manipulation and kind of like an attack on a larger scale, which is kind of easily understandable that it was an attack. But sometimes maybe a competitor is leaving just like one single negative review. But is there a way how sellers can make a difference between a legitimate negative review versus maybe someone who just wanted to leave a negative review?
Yeah. So the first thing that we do is, obviously, if they only leave one review, then obviously it's a little harder to detect, right? Because one review is one review. What we look for is multiple reviews. So if somebody left 2, 3, 4, 5 reviews that are all one-star reviews, and then obviously if we go and look at that buyer's account, and if they bought your competitors that have a very similar product and given them only 5-star reviews, that's usually an instant indicator for us. Or, there's people that you can get tons of maybe one-star reviews from multiple buyers' accounts just on one day. So then we look at the terminology there to see if somebody was copy and pasting that, or if you were just being attacked. If you usually get, one star a day, and you got 15 1 stars 3 days in a row, that's the kind of thing that we look at. And it's the same thing that you want to look at. You want to figure out, Amazon makes it kind of difficult, obviously, to know exactly who bought the product, but there is some information that you can do to be able to pull that in and try to figure that out. We've been able to figure it out, and had clients that have been able to figure out that it was a competitor, and because where they shipped the product, there's some information there that can be very valuable, where, sellers or competitor went and bought the product and have it shipped to their warehouse, and you go look at the person that bought it and say, "Hey, this is my competitor." Well, that's a smoking gun, right? In that situation, you're like, "Hey, clearly this person keeps buying it." I, Scammers get pretty, I mean, they get pretty tricky. I mean, they know how to stop that, but there's plenty of people that didn't, and that were just saying, "Hey, let's go do this because Amazon's not going to do anything or catch us." Well, if Amazon doesn't catch you, we will. So just know that if you keep doing that, we're going to be out there, and we're going to find you, and we're going to get that buyer's account removed. So that really is the goal in those situations, where it'd be like an escalation case or something like that.
Sounds good. And of course, we're going to have the link of TraceFuse also, in addition to the review checker, down in the video description below. But Shane, can you still highlight one more time what's the website address where sellers could learn more about the solution you're offering to them, and where they could also get in contact with you, for example, to ask more questions or learn more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can go to tracefuse.ai. That's TRACEFUSE.ai. Obviously, you can go over to the website. We got an amazing blog. We post about 12 articles a month. We got a lot of information about reviews, all in the review space. And if you guys want to reach out to me directly, if you have any questions, here goes my email address. Is just Shane, SHANE, at TraceFuse, TRACEFUSE.ai. You guys can reach out at any time. We're pride ourselves on doing, free demos and taking a look at your ASINs, and you're looking at things and seeing if there's anything we can do to be able to help you guys. Even if there isn't anything we can do, which would be usually, there's always something we could do, because if there's negative reviews, or which will always be there, there's usually something that we can get removed. If not, you can try it on your own. Once again, the Amazon review checker is free 99, as we talked about earlier. It doesn't cost anything. It's super easy for you to use. So if you have any questions, reach out at any time.
And you're always welcome to leave questions also under the video, so others could also see and kind of discuss along. And of course, we could then ask Shane to come back to the video and answer those as well. And also, if there's a seller watching us who doesn't have any negative reviews whatsoever, no ones, no twos, or no threes, also let us know. Then we know that that would be a seller where Shane, probably you could then help to protect the account further, to make sure that those negative reviews would not come in later in the product life.
That's exactly it.
All right. Well, thanks again, Shane, for joining me today to introduce TraceFuse and how you're helping Amazon sellers. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
I hope this video helps you to tackle negative reviews and keeps your sales on track. If you need help handling negative reviews, we recommend you to reach out to TraceFuse. You will find the link in the video description below. And if you found the tips in this video useful, don't forget to hit like and subscribe buttons, and share your thoughts and questions in the comment section below. And now I recommend you to watch another video where you will learn a simple way to get more product reviews on Amazon. So check this out.